Today we're talking about angle grinders. We're going to go over how to use one of these, some of the discs that I use, and what I use them for. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that you may need to do with your angle grinder is to actually cut stuff. So if you don't have a chop saw or a band saw, you can use an angle grinder to cut your material as you get it in, okay? So they're inexpensive, they're portable, really handy for that. And even though I have a chop saw and a band saw, I still use my angle grinder quite a bit. There's 3 different cutoff wheels that I use quite a bit. First, there's these basic thin cutoff wheels. These are great. They cut really pretty fast, but they also wear down pretty fast as well. So that's the drawback to them, but they're good for making a straight cut in a line. You want to cut on the edge of these instead of grinding on the face of them. Don't want to do that. Another one is a metal disc like this. This one's made by Diablo. There's multiple companies that make them. They have a little diamond grit attached to the outside of a metal wheel. Now these don't wear down, so they'll last a long time. You can use them, I mean, I haven't worn this one out and I've used it quite a bit. But I don't think they cut as well as the original discs. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there, but they still work pretty well. Another one has a recess in it here because when you have a cutoff wheel on here, just one of the flat ones, you still have your nut that is raised up above the grinder here. So if I put this back together like that, you can see that what this does is it lets your wheel be down a little lower, so if you're trying to cut something flush, that nut doesn't get in the way quite as much. So I like these. I use them from time to time for things like that. If I'm trying to cut something off and I need to get just a little bit shallower angle, you can see this one still hangs down, the nut hangs down a little bit. There are some wheels that will thread on cutoff wheels that'll cut a little bit more flush. I don't have one of those here to show you, but those are available. Okay, so grinding. So if your weld looks terrible, then you may want to grind it. So just for appearance sake, even if it looks nice, sometimes you want to have, you know, on an outside corner joint, something that's really smooth. For those type of operations, I'll use flat discs mostly. I think they remove material a little faster than a traditional grinding wheel, and they leave a little bit smoother finish because they can bend just a little bit. So I really like these. I use them quite a bit. The downside is they don't last too long. Okay, so I'll use wheel, you know, the regular grind wheel like this if I'm removing just tons of material. If I'm putting a bevel on a plate so that I can weld something really thick, maybe multiple passes, then I'll use one of these traditional grinding wheels because they hold up a long time and they're really cheap. So I like both of these. Another advantage of flat wheels is I found that they work pretty well on aluminum, where a traditional grinding wheel won't. It'll just get loaded with aluminum when you try to cut and won't work quite as well. So those are some of the uses that I found for grinding wheels. For brushes, there's 2 main things I use a brush for. The one that I use a brush for the most, I use one of these where the bristles extend out radially. Some have the bristles twisted together like this. This one's a little narrower. It's called a stringer bead wheel. And I use this to get slag off. So if I'm stick welding or flux core welding, and especially if I'm going to do another pass, I want to get all the slag off. So I'll use this just to make sure that the weld's totally clean. The other use is just to remove rust or corrosion off of some steel. You know, maybe you're working on your car, or with old material, you might use a cup brush like this or a wheel like this to remove rust off of material like that. So, if you haven't tuned in before, my name's Tim. I make welding videos. I'd love for you to leave a comment below with some of your favorite uses for your angle grinder, and also to like and subscribe if you've gotten something out of this. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.